Hey, welcome back to Podcast Gear for Beginners YouTube channel. I'm super excited that you're here today. I'm talking about the difference between a digital recorder and a USB interface. And so the first and most important difference between these two devices is how the device is going to record audio. So in my hand, I have a Zoom H6 digital recorder, and this has 4 XLR inputs, which means you can run 4 XLR microphones into this digital recorder. And so just to remind you, the XLR input looks like this on the back of the microphone. You cannot use a USB microphone with a digital recorder or a USB interface or mixer if that microphone does not have an XLR output. And so this digital recorder has a slot for an SD card. And so that's what makes a digital recorder really great, is that it is portable and you record to an SD card. So this, you would think this thing in my hand, it seems pretty small, right? Like I would consider that portable. And so what you can do is you can run around town with a handheld mic and plug that into a digital recorder. And so you could just hit record on this digital recorder and talk into your mic, and then you've got audio that's recording to your SD card. And so you take that SD card out, you pop that in your desktop or your laptop, and then you pull your audio file over to your digital audio workstation, or Audacity, which is a free program, or Adobe Audition, which is paid, and GarageBand, that's a free one for Mac. And so you would put that audio into your digital audio workstation, and then you could edit. So that's the main thing, is that with the digital recorder, you're going to be recording to an SD card. Now, just a quick note, the Zoom H6 can actually double as a USB interface. It has a USB out, and you could plug that into your computer, and then through your digital audio workstation, or DAW, you choose the H6 as the interface, and then you can record onto your computer. And so there's a certain setting that you would need to get to in the menu to make it be recognizable by your computer as a USB interface. But that's the main difference. Just a couple of other little portable digital recorders. This is a Zoom H1. It's called a handy recorder. It records to a mini SD card. And so it has a built-in microphone. And so I wouldn't recommend this for podcasting per se, but it's just to give you an idea that digital recorders are typically a little bit more portable and mobile. And so anyways, I could just hit record on this and talk into the top and then have audio. And so I can record wherever I go without a computer or without a laptop being carried around. And then this is a Tascam DR60D. It's got 2 XLR inputs and a 3.5 millimeter input. And so basically I could do the same thing. I could plug my XLR mic in, run around and talk into it, and just record on the go to my SD card. And so that is the primary function there for digital recorders. So the USB interface is a completely different setup and completely different functionality. So this USB interface is called a PreSonus AudioBox 44 VSL. It's an older model, but they make similar models. Scarlett has a couple of models that have 1 and 2 and 4 inputs, but it's called Scarlett. And anyways, the idea is you plug in your XLR mics into one of your inputs, and you have these controls where you can control your gain on each one of those inputs and each one of those tracks. And it also has a headphone volume knob and a main volume knob. And on the back, you have some outputs to where you could go to speakers or go to headphones and those kinds of things. But the main thing is this USB out. And so you run that cable into your computer, and you're able to record into your DAW, whether it's GarageBand or Audition or Audacity, whatever you might run. And so this situation is more of a sit it at a table and record to a laptop or a computer situation, versus the digital recorder where you can pretty much take that anywhere and record to an SD card. And so You can also find USB mixers, which are kind of the same idea. I've got XLR inputs. I've got all of my controls, some EQ. I've got a headphone jack. I've got a main out to where I can run monitoring, or I could run something to a live stream. But then I also have the USB out, which allows me to be able to plug into my computer or my laptop, and that's where I'm going to record the audio. This digital interface that I have in my hands doesn't have a place for an SD card. It records straight to the computer. It's the same thing for this PreSonus. There's no SD card to record to. It just goes straight to my computer. And so there are some mixers that are larger mixers that give you more than 4 inputs, that do actually have SD cards built into the board, so you can record to your computer at the same time, and you can record to an SD card at the same time. I'm actually running a Zoom L12 live track, and I'm recording straight onto my board onto an SD card. But I also have a USB cable coming out of the mixer going into the laptop, and then I'm recording to Adobe Audition. So I'm creating redundancy. So just in case something happens on the computer, I've got the SD tracks. If something happens to the SD tracks, I've got it on the computer. And so the difference between the digital recorder and the USB interface is primarily functionality. Are you recording to your laptop or a computer? Or are you just wanting to record to an SD card and not be tied down to a table and a big setup? And so some of these things are pretty portable. You can take them anywhere. But if you're just trying to like walk around and record, you're doing interviews, or you have to set up somewhere else, you can do that. I used to have a podcast that I did once a month where we had 4 people. So I would take the Zoom H6. I'd put 4 people, 4 mics, 4 handheld dynamic mics via XLR into my Zoom, and I'd set it in the middle of the table, and we would all just hold our microphones and talk and do the podcast. And that all fit into a small backpack that I just threw on my back and showed up. And so highly portable situation versus a situation where maybe you're going to be tied down to a table a little bit more, and you're going to need a computer or a laptop or a desktop PC in order to actually get your audio. And so I'm so glad that you checked out the video. I hope that this information was very valuable to you. If you have any other questions, you can always shoot me an email at podcastgearforbeginners@gmail.com, and be sure and check out our Learning Center, our blogs, and our podcast over at podcastgearforbeginners.com. I appreciate you guys. We'll see you again.